Have you ever poured yourself a glass of water, taken a sip, and thought, at least I'm doing something healthy today? Most of us never question the water we drink. We trust it. We need it. In fact, many people over 50 are told to drink more water every single day, and that's good advice. But here's something many people don't realize. Sometimes the very thing we're counting on to keep us healthy can become the source of a problem we never saw coming. Imagine waking up one morning with sudden stomach cramps. Then comes nausea, frequent trips to the bathroom, and a feeling of exhaustion that seems to come out of nowhere. You might assume it's something you ate at yesterday's family barbecue or that takeout you picked up on the way home. But what if it wasn't the food at all? What if the source was sitting in the glass beside your bed, or the ice cubes in your afternoon tea, or even the fresh salad you carefully rinsed before dinner? That possibility may sound surprising, but every year, thousands of Americans become sick from tiny organisms that are impossible to see with the naked eye. Many recover without serious problems, but for older adults, especially those living with diabetes, kidney disease, or a weakened immune system, what starts as just a stomach bug can quickly become much more than an inconvenience. The surprising part isn't simply that these germs exist, it's how easily they can slip into everyday life and how often the earliest warning signs are mistaken for something harmless. Many people wait it out, assuming they'll feel better tomorrow. They keep sipping coffee, trying to go about their normal routine, believing it's just a passing upset stomach. By the time they realize they're becoming dangerously dehydrated, they're much weaker than they expected. The good news is that knowledge can make a remarkable difference. Understanding where these infections come from, recognizing the early signs, and knowing a few simple habits that help protect you can reduce your risk and help you respond more quickly if something doesn't feel right. Because when it comes to your health after 50, it's often the small, everyday choices, not the dramatic ones, that make the biggest difference. Part 1. Have you ever noticed how a simple stomach problem feels very different now than it did 20 or 30 years ago? When you were younger, you might have spent a day on the couch, sipped a little ginger ale, and been back to normal before the weekend. But as we get older, our bodies don't always bounce back as quickly. We lose fluids more easily. We recover more slowly. And if we're already managing conditions like diabetes, heart disease, or high blood pressure, even a short illness can throw our whole system off balance. That's why it's so important not to brush off certain symptoms as just a bug. One of the biggest misconceptions is that if your tap water looks clear and tastes fine, it's completely free of germs. The truth is, water in the United States is among the safest in the world, thanks to modern treatment systems and careful monitoring. But no system is perfect. Heavy rain, flooding, aging pipes, private wells, contaminated recreational water, or even improperly washed produce can occasionally introduce tiny parasites, bacteria, or viruses that are impossible to see without specialized testing. And here's where many people are caught off guard. Sometimes the water itself isn't the direct problem. It may be the ice in your favorite restaurant drink. It could be fruit that was rinsed with contaminated water. It might even be vegetables from a grocery store salad kit that looked perfectly fresh. These invisible germs don't announce themselves. They don't change the color of your water. They don't create a strange smell. They simply wait for an opportunity to enter the body. One example is a microscopic parasite called cyclospora. It's far too small to see, and it has been linked to outbreaks associated with fresh produce and contaminated water. While many healthy adults eventually recover, older adults can experience symptoms that linger much longer, making everyday life surprisingly difficult. Now, before you start worrying every time you pour a glass of water, it's important to keep this in perspective. Most drinking water in the United States is safe, and serious contamination is relatively uncommon. The goal isn't to make you afraid of drinking water. Quite the opposite. Staying well hydrated is one of the healthiest habits you can have. The real goal is awareness, because knowing what to watch for allows you to act sooner if something doesn't seem right. So what does an infection like this actually feel like? For many people, it begins quietly. Maybe your stomach feels a little unsettled after breakfast. You assume something just didn't agree with you. Then the cramps become stronger. Before long, you're making repeated trips to the bathroom. The diarrhea can be frequent and watery, leaving you feeling drained. You may also notice nausea. Some people lose their appetite completely. Others develop bloating, fatigue, or a low-grade fever. A few even find themselves losing weight because they simply don't feel like eating. At first glance, these symptoms sound like many other stomach illnesses. That's exactly why they're so easy to dismiss. Many people tell themselves, "I'll give it another day." And sometimes they do get better. But for older adults, waiting too long can create another problem that often receives much less attention than the infection itself. Dehydration. Think about how much water your body depends on every single day. Your heart needs it to pump efficiently. Your kidneys rely on it to filter waste. Your brain uses it to help you stay alert and focused. Your muscles depend on it for strength and balance. When severe diarrhea causes the body to lose large amounts of fluid, those systems can begin struggling surprisingly fast. You may feel unusually weak when standing up from your favorite chair. Your mouth becomes dry. You notice dizziness while walking the dog or checking the mailbox. Your urine becomes darker than usual. Even simple tasks, watering the garden, folding laundry, or driving to the pharmacy, can suddenly feel exhausting. Many older adults assume these changes are simply part of aging, but sometimes they're signs that the body is desperately trying to tell you it's running low on fluids. If you take medications such as diuretics, often called water pills, or medicines that affect kidney function or blood pressure, dehydration may become even more concerning. That's one reason healthcare providers often encourage older adults to pay close attention whenever vomiting or persistent diarrhea develops. Another mistake people make is assuming they must have traveled to another country to pick up this kind of infection. Not at all. You can become ill without ever leaving your hometown. Community picnics, fresh produce, restaurant meals, farmers markets, recreational lakes, and untreated private well water have all been linked to certain outbreaks over the years. Most of the time, these situations are isolated and quickly investigated, but they remind us that food and water safety is something everyone should take seriously. The encouraging news is that most of these infections are preventable, and many of the protective habits are surprisingly simple. Often, it isn't about doing something extraordinary. It's about paying attention to the little things that are easy to overlook, the habits that quietly protect your health day after day, even when you don't realize they're making a difference. One of the most surprising things about waterborne illnesses is that they don't always appear the way people expect. Many of us picture someone becoming sick just a few hours after eating something bad. And while that certainly happens with some types of food poisoning, parasites and other microscopic germs can behave very differently. Sometimes several days pass before symptoms begin. By then, you've probably forgotten what you ate, where you shopped, or which restaurant you visited. You may have enjoyed a church potluck over the weekend, grabbed a ready-made salad from the grocery store, or shared fresh fruit with your grandchildren. When your stomach finally starts acting up days later, connecting the dots becomes almost impossible. That's one reason these infections can be so confusing. People often spend days trying to figure out what went wrong, blaming the wrong meal, or assuming they caught a seasonal virus. Here's another misunderstanding that catches many people off guard. Many assume that only people with weakened immune systems need to worry. While it's true that those individuals may face a greater risk of complications, anyone can become infected. The difference is often in how the body responds. As we grow older, several natural changes take place. Our immune system doesn't react as quickly as it once did. Our sense of thirst may become weaker, meaning we don't always realize we're getting dehydrated. Our kidneys may not conserve water as efficiently, and many older adults take medications that affect fluid balance or digestion. None of this means you're fragile. It simply means your body appreciates a little extra care. Think about a hot summer afternoon. You've been outside trimming the hedges, tending your garden, or walking through the neighborhood with a friend. You come home tired, drink a glass of water, and relax in front of the television. If an illness-causing diarrhea begins around that same time, your body is already starting from a place where it may need more fluids. Losing even more water can leave you feeling lightheaded much sooner than you expected. That's why older adults sometimes describe these illnesses differently than younger people. Instead of saying, "My stomach hurts," they often say, "I just feel wiped out." That overwhelming fatigue is easy to mistake for aging, poor sleep, or simply having a busy week. But your body may actually be working overtime. It takes energy to fight an infection. It takes fluids to replace what's been lost. It takes nutrients to repair and recover. When those needs aren't met, recovery can feel much slower. Another overlooked issue is appetite. Many people stop eating when they have an upset stomach. That seems logical, you don't feel hungry. But after a day or two, your body is missing both fluids and nourishment. Without enough calories, your muscles begin to lose strength. Without enough electrolytes, important minerals like sodium and potassium, your nerves and muscles can't work as efficiently. That's one reason some people notice weakness, muscle cramps, or feeling shaky after several days of stomach illness. If you have diabetes, this becomes even more important. Diarrhea and dehydration can affect blood sugar levels in unpredictable ways. Some people see their blood sugar rise because of stress on the body. Others may eat so little that their blood sugar drops too low, especially if they're taking diabetes medications. This is why healthcare providers often encourage people with diabetes to pay close attention during any illness, even one that seems minor at first. The same is true for people living with kidney disease or heart conditions. Your body is carefully balancing fluids every day. When illness disrupts that balance, it's wise to check in with your healthcare provider if symptoms are severe, last more than a couple of days, or you're unable to keep fluids down. Now here's something encouraging. Not every stomach problem requires panic. In fact, many mild stomach illnesses improve with rest, staying hydrated, and giving your body time to recover. The key is learning to recognize when your body is handling things well and when it's asking for more help. For example, if you're able to sip fluids, your symptoms gradually improve, and you begin feeling stronger over the next day or two. That's generally reassuring. On the other hand, certain warning signs deserve prompt medical attention. Persistent diarrhea that doesn't improve, signs of significant dehydration, such as confusion, fainting, very little urination or extreme weakness, a high fever, severe abdominal pain, or blood in the stool are all reasons to seek medical care rather than trying to manage everything at home. There's another habit many people have that can unintentionally make things worse. The moment diarrhea begins, they immediately reach for over-the-counter medicines designed to stop it. While these medications can be appropriate in some situations, they aren't always the best choice. If your body is trying to clear an infection, slowing everything down without understanding the cause isn't always helpful. That's why it's a good idea to follow the directions on the label and speak with a healthcare professional if symptoms are severe, persistent, or you're unsure what's causing them. Many people also think antibiotics are the answer to every stomach illness. But that's another common misconception. Some stomach infections are caused by viruses, which antibiotics don't treat. Others are caused by parasites, which may require different medications if treatment is needed. That's one reason it's important not to take leftover antibiotics or medications prescribed for someone else. The right treatment depends on the cause. Perhaps the biggest lesson is this: your body is remarkably good at sending signals. The challenge is that those signals are often subtle at first. A little more fatigue than usual, a little less appetite, a few extra trips to the bathroom, feeling unusually thirsty, slight dizziness when standing. Individually, each one may seem unimportant. Together, they tell a story. And the sooner you recognize that story, the sooner you can take simple, sensible steps to support your recovery and protect your health. The good news is that protecting yourself doesn't usually require expensive equipment or complicated routines. In fact, many of the most effective habits are simple enough to become part of your everyday life. Let's start with the one habit that surprises many people: wash fresh fruits and vegetables thoroughly before eating them. Even produce that looks spotless can carry tiny particles from the farm, transportation, or grocery store. A quick rinse under clean running water can help remove dirt and reduce germs on the surface. There's generally no need for soap or bleach, which can leave residues that aren't meant to be eaten. Just clean water and a gentle rub with your hands or a clean produce brush for firm fruits and vegetables can go a long way. If you enjoy pre-washed salad mixes, it's understandable to assume they're ready to eat. Many are, but if a recall has been announced because of contamination, it's safest to avoid those products and follow the guidance provided. Paying attention to food safety alerts can help you avoid unnecessary risk. Another habit worth adopting is keeping your kitchen cleaner than you think it needs to be. It isn't about making your home look perfect. It's about preventing invisible germs from moving from one place to another. For example, imagine preparing raw chicken for dinner. You chop it on a cutting board, then use that same board to slice tomatoes for a salad without washing it first. Nothing looks wrong. Everything smells fine. But harmful germs can quietly transfer from one food to another. Using separate cutting boards for raw meats and fresh produce, or washing them thoroughly with hot, soapy water between uses, is one of the easiest ways to reduce that risk. The same idea applies to your hands. Think about how often we touch refrigerator handles, shopping carts, doorknobs, phones, and television remotes throughout the day. Our hands are constantly picking up tiny organisms. Taking 20 seconds to wash your hands with soap and water before eating, before preparing food, and after using the restroom remains one of the most powerful health habits ever discovered. It's simple, inexpensive, and remarkably effective. Now let's talk about water itself. If your home is connected to a public water system, your drinking water is regularly treated and monitored. Even so, it's wise to pay attention to local advisories. After severe storms, flooding, or water main breaks, local officials may issue a boil water notice until testing confirms the water is safe again. Many people hear these announcements and assume they're meant for someone else. They're not. If a boil water advisory is issued in your community, following it carefully can help prevent illness. That typically means using properly boiled or bottled water for drinking, making ice, brushing your teeth, and preparing food until the advisory is lifted. If you rely on a private well, there's another important step. Unlike public water systems, private wells are generally the homeowner's responsibility. Regular testing, especially after flooding, or if you notice changes in taste, smell, or appearance, can help identify problems before they affect your health. Here's where many people make a mistake. They believe dehydration only happens when they're extremely thirsty, but thirst isn't always a reliable signal, especially as we age. Some older adults simply don't feel thirsty until they're already behind on fluids. Instead of waiting for thirst, consider building hydration into your routine. Perhaps you drink a glass of water with breakfast, another while reading the morning newspaper, one after your afternoon walk, and another with dinner. Small, consistent habits are often easier than trying to catch up all at once. Of course, if you've been told by your healthcare provider to limit fluids because of heart failure, kidney disease, or another medical condition, follow the plan that's right for you. Everyone's needs are a little different. It's also helpful to notice what your body is telling you. Urine that is pale yellow is often a sign you're staying reasonably hydrated. Darker urine, a dry mouth, headaches, dizziness, or feeling unusually tired can all be clues that you may need more fluids, although these symptoms can have other causes too. One simple trick many caregivers use is keeping water within easy reach. A reusable water bottle beside your favorite chair, a glass on the kitchen counter, or a reminder on your phone can make it easier to drink regularly without having to think about it. And don't forget that hydration doesn't come only from plain water. Foods like watermelon, oranges, cucumbers, strawberries, lettuce, soups, and broths also contribute fluids while providing valuable nutrients. When you're recovering from a stomach illness, gentle foods can often be easier on the digestive system. Plain rice, applesauce, bananas, toast, oatmeal, crackers, or broth-based soups are common choices because they're easy to digest. As your appetite returns, gradually adding lean proteins, yogurt with live cultures if you tolerate dairy, cooked vegetables, and other nutritious foods can help rebuild your strength. Many people also wonder about sports drinks. While they can help replace electrolytes during significant fluid loss, many varieties contain a considerable amount of sugar. For someone with diabetes, that's something to keep in mind. In some situations, an oral rehydration solution designed to replace both fluids and electrolytes may be a better option. If you're unsure what's appropriate for your situation, your healthcare provider or pharmacist can offer guidance. Perhaps the most important habit of all is learning to trust your instincts. You know your body better than anyone else. If something feels different, if you're becoming weaker instead of stronger, if you're unable to keep fluids down, or if symptoms continue beyond what seems reasonable, don't dismiss those feelings. Too many people tell themselves, "I don't want to bother the doctor." But healthcare professionals would much rather answer your questions early than see you become seriously dehydrated later. There's something reassuring about that. Looking after your health isn't about worrying over every little symptom. It's about paying attention. It's about noticing changes. It's about taking small actions before small problems become larger ones. And perhaps that's one of the greatest lessons healthy aging teaches us. The little things we do every single day, washing our hands, preparing food carefully, staying hydrated, and listening to our bodies, may not seem remarkable in the moment. But over the course of months and years, those ordinary habits quietly become some of the strongest protections we have for our health and independence. If there's one message to take away from everything we've talked about today, it's this. You don't have to live in fear of your drinking water. Water is one of the most important things your body needs. It supports your heart, helps your kidneys do their job, keeps your brain sharp, and allows nearly every system in your body to function properly. For most people in the United States, public drinking water is safe, and staying hydrated remains one of the healthiest habits you can have. The real goal isn't fear, it's awareness. Awareness that invisible germs can occasionally find their way into our food or water. Awareness that our bodies change as we get older. And awareness that recognizing problems early can often make all the difference. Think about all the small decisions you make during an ordinary day. You wash an apple before taking a bite. You rinse fresh vegetables before making a salad. You wash your hands before lunch. You keep an eye on local health advisories after a major storm. You remember to drink water throughout the day, even when you don't feel especially thirsty. None of these habits are dramatic. No one applauds them. Yet together they create a quiet layer of protection around your health. And that's often how healthy aging works. It's rarely one big decision. It's hundreds of small, thoughtful choices repeated over time. I think about a retired couple who loved spending Saturday mornings at their local farmer's market. They enjoyed chatting with vendors, picking out fresh tomatoes, peaches, and leafy greens before heading home to cook lunch together. One summer, they heard about a produce recall on the evening news. Instead of assuming it didn't matter, they checked the products they had purchased, followed the recommendations, and threw away the affected items. It wasn't exciting. It wasn't complicated. It was simply a moment of paying attention. That's what protecting your health often looks like. Not panic, not perfection, just good information followed by sensible action. The same is true when your body begins sending signals. If you suddenly develop persistent diarrhea, severe stomach cramps, or symptoms that leave you feeling unusually weak or dehydrated, don't convince yourself that you simply have to tough it out. There's wisdom in giving your body time to recover, but there's also wisdom in recognizing when it's asking for help. If symptoms are severe, if you're unable to keep fluids down, if you notice blood in your stool, develop a high fever, become confused, or feel faint, seek medical attention promptly. And if you have diabetes, kidney disease, heart disease, or another chronic condition, it's especially important to stay in touch with your healthcare provider when an illness disrupts your normal routine. Those conversations aren't a sign of weakness. They're part of taking good care of yourself. Remember, every healthy habit you've built over the years still matters. A balanced diet, regular walks around the neighborhood, good sleep, routine checkups, staying socially connected, managing your medications carefully, and now perhaps adding just a little more awareness about food and water safety. When you put all of these pieces together, they support something much bigger than avoiding a stomach illness. They help protect your strength, your independence, your ability to enjoy time with your family, your afternoon gardening, your morning coffee on the porch, your walks through the park, the simple moments that make life meaningful. Healthy aging isn't about trying to control everything. None of us can do that. It's about making informed choices that give our bodies the best chance to stay strong for years to come. So the next time you fill a glass of water, let it be a reminder of something positive. A reminder to stay hydrated. A reminder to care for your body. A reminder that small, consistent habits often have the greatest impact. And perhaps most importantly, a reminder that knowledge is one of the best tools you can carry with you at any age. If you found today's conversation helpful, consider sharing it with a friend, a spouse, a neighbor, or someone you care about. Sometimes a simple piece of information reaches exactly the person who needs it most. And if you enjoy practical, easy-to-understand health tips designed for adults over 50, we'd love to have you join us by subscribing and coming back for future conversations. Until next time, take good care of yourself, stay curious, stay informed, and remember that every small step you take today is an investment in a healthier tomorrow.